Hi and welcome to another tutorial. In today's lesson we'll learn how to recreate this cool looking retro badge using Adobe Illustrator. So anyways guys, let's jump in. So the first thing that we have to do here is we have to create a new file. We're just going to go with a 1200 by 1200 pixel document and we can leave everything else default. Just press OK. The first thing that we're going to start off here is we are going to write our first word, which is going to be a kitchen. So this is now going to be for a chopping board, so I think kitchen is very appropriate. The next thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you are putting in the right fonts. Now you don't have to use my fonts, but it just makes it a little bit easier because of the way that this tutorial was created. So this font that I'm using is called Blender Script. I've just increased the size to about 156 and then I'm just going to align it to the center of my document. So once I have that, then the next thing that we need to do is we need to open up this Glyphs panel. And so what I'm going to do is, if you don't have the Glyphs panel, you can go to Window, Type, and then open it up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click and I'm going to highlight that N. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this cool little funky N which has the glyph at the end of it. And I think that looks pretty good. So once you're happy with that, the next thing that we can do is I'm just going to change the spacing in between the K and the I. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Option on Mac, or I'm going to hold Alt on Windows, and I'm just going to press left and right to bring it a little bit closer together. So now that's looking pretty good. The next thing that we need to do is click on the selection tool, select the word, and then we need to find this Make Envelope. Now, if your Illustrator does not look like this, I'm using the Essential Classics workspace, and you can change that by going into Window, Workspace, and then change it to Essential Classics. So once I click Make Envelope, then what I need to do is I need to go to Rise, and I'm just gonna change the bend to about 20%. I'm just gonna press OK. So now that I've got my first word, the next word that I'm going to add is whose kitchen is this going to be, and this is going to be Anthony's kitchen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the font. The font is also in the link below, and I'm changing the font size to, let's say, 60. And again, I'm just going to go in and anywhere where I want the words to, or the letters to be closer together, I'm just going to press Option and left and right on my keyboard to move them a little bit closer together. So maybe just something like that. Cool. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to create an ellipse. So if you don't see it, it's underneath the rectangle tool. Grab the ellipse, but you have to make sure that you are finding the center. So if you press Command or Control Y, you will be able to find the center point. So there I can see the center, and then press Command or Control Y again, and I can still see it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Option or Alt and Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to draw a perfect circle that comes from the middle. So once you're happy with that circle, we can just change the fill to none, and we're just going to change the stroke to black, and I'm just going to increase it to about 8. Now that circle is too big, so I'm going to hold Option and Shift, and I'm just going to bring it down till it's maybe something like that. So now once I've done that, then I can get the scissors tool, which is underneath the eraser tool, and I'm just going to click on that point over there, that point there, that point there, and also that point over there. Now I can go and delete those sections, and so now I'm left with a pretty cool cut circle. So the next thing that we need to do is I'm just going to hold Shift and highlight both those circle parts, click on the stroke, and then change it to round cap. So now once we've done that, now we need to add some text that bends around the circle as well. So the easiest way to do that is to get the ellipse tool again, find the center point, and then what we're going to do is again Option and Shift, and I'm just going to draw another circle just a bit bigger than the circle that I had. And this time I don't need a fill for the stroke because we're only going to use it as the path. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm just going to grab the T tool and I'm going to write Type on a Path tool, and then I can write whatever I want. But before I do that, I am going to change the font. So the font that I'm using now is American Captain. So now I'm going to write a few words. The first word is going to be quality made products. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this icon over here. And you can see that I've got these two little lines over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag until it comes around. And then I'm also going to click on that line as well. So now I can actually move it, and I'm just going to space it out just so it fits just in there nicely. Cool. And we'll worry about the spacing of the characters later. Now I'm also going to just lower that font down a little bit. So I'm just going to put it to maybe about 50. Actually, we'll bring it up to about 55. Cool. So now once we've got that, then what we need to do is I need to click on the selection tool. I need to click on that word. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Command or Control C to copy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Paste in front. So firstly, I need to go to Edit, Copy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Edit, Paste in front. And so now if you've done that correctly, nothing would have changed. But when you go to right click, you go to Transform, Rotate. And if you do this 180 degrees, now you've got text at the bottom. So once you've copied that over, the next thing that you need to do is you need to find this halfway point line, and then you just need to drag it up. And so if you've done that correctly, now you'll be able to put that text on top of the line. So I'm just going to rotate it until it kind of fits in there nicely. And now obviously we don't want it to be that close on top of the line. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our character settings over here. And if we look at this last one, the baseline shift, if I just, move that a little bit around. So I'm just going to put it to about there. So about -43. Then it goes underneath that area there. Now I think that's looking pretty cool. Cool. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to edit that, and I'm just going to put my word in here. So handcrafted. And so now I just have to move those points around. So you have to click on that little line, and we're just going to do this visually, and we're just going to move it down like that. Now, as for the top row, what we're going to do is we're just going to increase the spacing in between the characters. So I'm going to come over here to the tracking, and I'm just going to increase that until it fits that entire section over there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring where it actually starts a little bit back as well, so I can actually increase it a little bit more. So I could probably increase it to maybe, I don't know, about 100, 102. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab that point and just make sure that it fits on there like that. Cool. So that's looking pretty good. Now we can move on to the next step. So now we're up to the next step, which is to again get the ellipse tool, and again find the center point, and again hold Option and Shift, and we're just going to draw a circle or an ellipse that is just a bit bigger than the text. So I'm going to change the fill to none. I'm going to change the color to black. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the stroke to, let's say, 3. And so when you do this ellipse, make sure that you have sort of equal distance in between this part and this part, just to make it look a little bit more unified. So once we have that, we're going to repeat that process again. So again, the ellipse tool, I'm going to find the center point, again hold Option and Shift, and this time I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. And this time I'm just going to increase the font size, the stroke size to, let's say, 18. And you can play around with some of the spacing in between this point and this point. But I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to move on to the next step. So the next step is to kind of fill in this empty space that's sitting here and here. So we can do this by using, a few stars. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold and press to get to the star tool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a very small star in there. So I'm just going to change the fill to black, and I'm just going to put the stroke to none, and then I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. And so what I'm going to do is, so I'll just change it to maybe something like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find the reflect tool, and then I'm going to press Command Y or Control Y to see the outlines mode, and then I'm going to hit onto the center. And once I've done that, then I can press Control or Command Y again, and if I just hold Option or Alt, you can see that now I can create duplicates of those stars. And if I need to duplicate that again, I can press Control or Command D. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the sizes of these. So I'm just going to hold Shift and Option, and I'm just going to increase the size. So this one is going to be the biggest one, and I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold Shift and make sure that I highlight all three of those stars. So I'm just going to right click and then go to Transform, Reflect. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reflect it vertically, and then just press Copy. And then I'm just going to move it over to the other side. So I'm just going to hold Shift to keep it in alignment. And I'm just going to make sure that it fits in there somewhere like that. So now if I have to change and rearrange the text, I can maybe make that text a little bit smaller, or I can change, you know, maybe the tracking in between, just so it fits nicely on both sides. Cool. So now we're up to the final piece. The final piece of this puzzle is to just write the established 2022. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write those words. So established, and I'm using the same Captain America font, and I'm just going to get 2022. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the established the same size as the 2022. So I'm just going to hold Shift and put it in until it's exactly like that. And the final thing that we're going to do is we're just going to place it there. We're just going to put our little icon there. So in the description, I have put down a SVG file that you can use, and all you have to do is download that file and then go to File, Place. And once you find your file, then you can just, you know, draw a box the size of, I'll just bring it down a little bit. Cool. And then once you're happy with all the arrangement of all your characters, you know, if you want to move anything again, you can just go back to your selection tool and then move it around. Kind of make sure that things are in the middle and things are looking quite nice. And then you're ready for the final step to get it ready for the laser cutter. So the first thing you should do is you should save your work right now. The next thing that you should do is you should highlight all of the objects in your document. And then what you should do is you should go to Object, and then go to Expand, and then just press OK. And then once you've done that, then you will need to go to your Pathfinder tools. So if you don't see Pathfinder, again, you can go to Window, Pathfinder, and it will all show up. Then you will need this icon over here, Unite. So we can just press on that, and now you will unite all of that. And then the final thing is to go back to Object and then go to Compound Path, and we will make a compound path. So those three steps are very important for the laser cutter. If you miss those three steps, it will not work, because we need to make sure that we are not putting text into that machine. So anyways guys, that's it for this short tutorial on how to make a quick kitchen retro badge using Adobe Illustrator. Anyways, I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.